Hi friends, I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North, and today I want to walk you around the garden. I want to show you what's already growing, some of the work that still needs to be done, and a little bit about the plan on where I want to put things. So for those of you that are in the warmer climates, you are probably already planting out your garden. But here in April in Ontario, Canada, growing zone 5B, it is too cold to bring out any of the frost tender things. In the meantime, I've been planting in my grow room. Back in January, I planted hundreds of onion seeds, and then in March, I planted a whole bunch of peppers. Then in April, I planted tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, and throughout that whole period, I've been going down there and sowing seeds for herbs, flowers, basically everything. The really cool thing that I have growing down there is my pawpaws. So back in October, I think it was, we went over to my sister and brother-in-law's house and we got to try a pawpaw, which is delicious. And so I took some of those seeds, I cold stratified them, and now I'm growing them in my grow room. The thing I want to show you are the Egyptian walking onions. So if you were here last year, you saw that I took a whole bunch of those onions from our old property, brought them here, and basically threw them into this bed and hoped for the best. And I can't believe the outcome. They are growing with a vengeance. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be able to propagate these and place them all around my property. Now that I've showed you something good, I'm going to show you something that didn't really turn out. So I didn't plant my garlic. I had them for over a year. I was holding on to them, hoping that I'd be able to plant them here. And by the time I got here and was able to plant them, they were really soft. And so I wasn't expecting much. I'm not getting much. But had I not planted them, I would have got nothing. So at least I'm getting a little something. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last year, but when we were selling our house, I wanted to be financially smart about it. I knew that, I needed to put out pretty flowers, plants, things like that, just to make certain areas, the porch, around the pool, things like that, just like fancy it up with color, greenery, so on. And so rather than buying annuals and filling all my barrels with annuals that I was then going to bring here, they would die throughout the winter, I planted them with strawberries and blackberries. So today I dug out all of the strawberries that have come back from last year, and I have planted them on this hill at the back of our property, and I'm hoping that they just take off and take over. Let's take a look. Look at how healthy these are. These are going to produce so many runners that are going to take over this hill. And in addition to taking over this hill, they're going to provide roots and hold this hill in place so that the dirt doesn't wash away. As I mentioned, we have a lot of these barrels, and they are currently all over the garden area. So I've been slowly emptying them of the different perennials that I brought to this property from our old property. I really didn't want to have to spend all the money starting new. So I know some of you are going to be asking me what I'm planting in all these barrels, because it's growing space and there's no way I am letting gardening space go to waste. So a couple of the things that I have planned so far, I'm going to do some green beans in some of them, bush beans, because they don't need a trellis. I can put probably 3 or 4 plants in each one. I'm going to use a couple of them for my eggplant plants, and I'm only doing a few eggplants, so that will be perfect. I'm going to use a few of them for stevia, so I thought that would be a great way to grow that. I'm also going to use some of them for sweet potatoes. I have a really cool trellis idea, and I need to set it up, see how I like it, see how it looks in the garden area, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to use some of these barrels for the sweet potatoes as well. Jalapeno peppers, definitely got to grow them, so I'm going to use some of these barrels for that. And then I have planned a couple of them to go on my front porch, and I want to put lemongrass in them. So I'm not sure, I should probably do a little bit more research to see how deep the roots are on lemongrass and whether or not these barrels are going to be too shallow. But I will definitely do that before I plant them in there. The lemongrass is still growing in the plant room, so I'm not worried about needing to pull it out right now anyways. Before we move on to the next thing that's growing in this amazing new garden, I just want to touch on the soil level of my beds. So with any new raised bed gardens that are built on the permaculture method of layering materials for about, I'm going to say 70% of the bed, what happens is everything starts to decompose and compress, and you are going to have to add new compost to your beds probably for about 3 years, if not more, depending on how tightly you layered that bed. And so my beds dropped about 6 to 8 inches, and I had to fill them up, top them up. I just noticed this as I was walking by it. This here is a runner that came out of one of the barrels, and it took root, and I can plant this now. So let's head over to the strawberry bed. Okay, so since we're here, I'm going to be planting this little strawberry seedling into this bed. I thought that I would show you how well this bed is doing. Everything seems to be coming back. Everything's nice and green. I have mulched this bed with leaves as well as a little bit more compost on top of the leaves, just to give the bed a little bit more nutrients for all the growth that's going to be happening. I can't pass by this barrel without showing it to you. Look at these amazing Egyptian walking onions. No TLC, and basically just thrown into this barrel and dropped here in my garden. So here we have all my onions that were only planted a couple days ago. Now they do look a little bit straggly, but in a couple weeks you're going to see a complete difference in them. Once they get accustomed to this bed that they're in, they recover from being pulled apart, teased apart out of that, that root ball that they were in. They are going to love their life. I want to take a quick minute to appreciate one of the apple trees that we planted last year. This was one of the first things that we did because they take so long to actually produce fruit. And I just want to show you all of the amazing new growth. I'm so excited. And this isn't just the only tree that is presenting this. they're all presenting new growth. It's going to be a great year for them. Let's just take a look here. I have asparagus already growing. Now, I think there might be something under these leaves because I can see that it was pushing up the leaves. So amazing. So I'm going to come out here tomorrow and I'll probably break off, I don't know, I'm going to maybe move the leaves a little bit more and see exactly how many are here, and then probably take half of them. So this is the second year for these asparagus plants. Back in October, I'm going to say probably the end of October, I planted garlic in here in the hopes, like the other bed, I would get something. And it looks like I'm going to get 2. Before we move down from the garden, there's another 2 places that I want to take you. I just wanted to touch on the garden plan. So I'm just going to show it to you here. Hopefully you can see it. So all of the blue boxes are the current beds, and the red boxes are the new beds. So I currently have all of the new bed frames built in the garage. I have to attach the tin still, and then we are going to have to come up here and level it off a little bit more, and then put the beds in and start filling them with leaves and wood chips and branches and all that great stuff, and then compost on top. So there's still a little bit of work to do, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it because I am a planner. Now, I know that some of you will just fly by the seat of your pants and you will go out to your garden centers, buy trays of plants, come out and figure out where you're going to do it, or you're growing them and you don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to do it. And I think that that is great. And I wish I could be more like that, but I'm not. I'm too organized. So what I normally do is I will map it all out first, how many beds, new beds, so on and so forth. And then I go through it and I put down what I'm going to grow in those beds. And of course things can change. I had to change a couple things in regards to my onions. I realized that they needed to not be with other things. And so I know onions can grow with a lot of other things. They're great companions. But what I noticed last year is that my onions didn't get very big because they got shaded out. So this year what I decided to do is I was just going to put the onions by themselves. The only thing they're going to have in the bed with them are squash on either side growing up the trellis. So I don't know if any of you use a garden planner, but like I use it for tracking the seeds. You know, like I know on January 13th, I started my seeds for onions, and then March 14th, I started peppers. So it's nice to know. I've also been keeping track of how many seedlings I have. It's just been a great help to me figuring out where I'm going to put things. So I don't know if I mentioned that I also took raspberry canes from our old property, and I brought them here. I planted them in those barrels, and about 2 weeks ago, I pulled them out and put them in their forever home here on this property. Now, when I did that, they looked like twigs. I wasn't sure if I was going to get anything, but take a look at this. Take a look at all of this beautiful new growth. This is so amazing. I'm so excited. Like, there is so much growth here. So I have 10 piles of raspberry canes that I have planted here. I am going to be putting up some kind of trellis so that it's not a jumbled mess. But for now, I'm just letting them grow. I pride myself in being fairly organized. However, I am not afraid to tell you that I had white or golden raspberries as well as red raspberry canes, and I knew what barrels they were in when I brought them here to this property. However, when I pulled them all out of the barrels and brought them down to their new location, I don't know which is which. So it's going to be exciting to see which raspberries are growing and where. I'm kind of hoping that I mixed them up enough that I'm going to get some golden ones mixed all in with the red ones. This area here is the west side of the garage. And what I've done here is, well, on the end in that green bucket is a Chicago Hardy fig. I bought that last year, planted it in that container, had it up in my garden for a little while, and then I overwintered it inside the garage. I've recently brought it out, and you can see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see in this light. It's hard to see, but there is new growth on that fig as well. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, there's not enough sun there, but what I would say to you is that it is close to 7 p.m. So the sun is slowly going down, and in about an hour, we won't have any. In between so I have a Chicago Hardy fig there, as well as I have placed one over there. Now, I am going to be digging them into the ground where I have them. I just wanted to make sure that that's where I wanted them before I did that. So in between, I have blackberries. And again, these blackberries were bushes that I bought to put in those barrels to make the old house look beautiful with greenery and lots of nature. And so I brought them, and now I've planted them here, and sometime this summer I will also be putting up a trellis for them because they are already kind of wanting to climb along the ground there. So let's say hello to the girls. Hi, girls. Hi, girls. Hi, girls. Hi, pretty girls. That's it for the tour. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. Have yourself a great day, and thank you for spending time with me.